An absolutely historic last 24 hours has happened in Bitcoin. We have hit our first short-term targets at 62,500, and now the higher-term timeframes are once again hinting at some very, very impressive things to be aware of, let's say. So with that said, I want to welcome you back to EllioTrades channel. I'm your host Krown again today with some good old TA. First things first, before we actually get into this video, I want to say a massive thank you for all of the comments on these videos. First things first, I'm like blown away just by the support in the community here. Like, thank you for one, sincere thank you would be good. But also, I do want to say thank you for the feedback on sort of, what to be looking at and whatnot as well, as we want to, obviously curate this content for the community here. And we can take a look at some altcoins as some major buys stream on through there. Lots of $1 million buyers on FTX there. Not bad. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into it right now. Again, I want to keep these videos nice and streamlined. Let's start off with the most important thing that happened in the last 24 hours, and that would be the weekly closure on the CME chart, which I would argue is the most important chart for Bitcoin, because from my back testing, signals on this chart play out significantly more in comparison to the spot price action charts. And what happened in the last 24 hours? Well, we were following up on the 2-day, the 3-day, and the weekly Bollinger Band closures, of which we closed above the top side Bollinger Band on all three. All three being, generally higher term timeframes, the weekly being the most important, being that it is the highest of all those three. And we have a new closing all-time high on CME as well. So with that said, what does this imply? Why is this important? Well, Bollinger Bands, being a volatility-based indicator, shows that when we close above it, which by the way on the weekly, we're getting our second consecutive closure above it, that the Bollinger Bands themselves are expanding. So that implies that volatility is increasing. We've obviously already looked at that at BBWP earlier this week as well on some very impressive timeframes. And with price action closing above, that does imply that we will see over the next week's schedule, next 2 to 3 weeks, let's say, continuation. Continuation of what, you might ask? Well, continuation of in this case, trend. What is our current trend? Well, as of a few weeks ago, we have certainly confirmed, if you're the biggest, most conservative trader, a reversal on the weekly, and that reversal led to an uptrend by taking out the prior high of $50,000 right here. Beautiful. So with that in mind, I do go into the assumption with the next, 2 to 3 weeks that Bitcoin very likely trades higher from here, and in this case, very likely going to fulfill our next medium-term targets to the upside from which we spoke about earlier this week. Obviously, the short-term timeframe targets have been hit, 62,500. While everyone was looking for that pullback from your prior all-time high, well, no. We said, hey, the data suggests this is actually a lot more likely to put in a bit of a short squeeze here. And I don't think it's actually done just yet, for what it's worth. And maybe we'll go and do a little bit more detail in another video. Anyways, as long as these conditions are met on the Bollinger Bands, I do think that we can have, short-term pullbacks, obviously. In fact, we very likely will, but those corrections should come down to wherever our topside Bollinger Band is, or around there, which for reference right now on the weekly is 59,000, just above 59,000 bucks. So as long as Bitcoin's above there, generally good. I look for trend continuation, in this case, very obviously to the upside. And more importantly, we have technical targets to the upside as well that still have not been met. Remember this one over here. I forget if we actually spoke about on this channel, but maybe it's on my channel, whatever. This is an inverted head. This is an inverted head shoulder. Can I speak? I can't speak. This is an inverted head and shoulders failure target, which, by the way, I think head and shoulders are terrible formations in a bull market, especially just because they have less than a 30% probability to work out. Technically, I think it's like 28% if you want to be super exact. Especially if they complete above the yearly moving average as well, just as an aside. Anyways, more importantly with this, the failure target of it is still very much active, and guess where that's pointed up towards? Right here, just around $69,000, also in line with our bot and algo target at the one spot 414 here, 69,000, and actually some odd change there as well. So I would be looking for a bit of a medium-term pullback from that region. Of course, we have hit our first one over here on CME, a little bit higher price than what it was on spot price action, obviously, being that there is a premium. But that would be 64.5 versus spot, which we saw 62.5, which was our short-term target from yesterday and the day prior's video. Anyways, With that in mind, this is all looking well and good. Be aware of the invalidation, and we can maybe just briefly pop on over here as well and talk about lower term timeframes, and then we'll get into perhaps some Bitcoin dominance talk. Anyways, lower term timeframes right here. I am not a big fan of doing analysis over the weekend, especially on the short term timeframes, because when CME is not trading, I don't find that it plays out all that well. But if you put a gun to my head and said, Krown, figure this out or die, which kind of aggressive, man, but we can do it. What I'd do right here is I'd say, all right, you got a bit of an hourly range, 62,900. I'd be very conservative on this to the upside versus 60,900 to the downside. I would need to see an hourly closure above or below in order to judge continuation. Now, if Bitcoin were to close above 62,900 on an hourly, especially on a higher term time frame as well, I would look for continuation first to $64,000, and then very likely a pullback from there on the short term time frames. However, weekend times are ripe for a little bit of messing around, if you will, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a weekend pullback here. And I would confirm that with an hourly closure below 60,900. If that were to happen, I would look for Bitcoin to come back down and test around the topside weekly Bollinger Band, which is just around $59,000 right here. Granted, there is a premium on CME price action, probably going to be just below $59,000, somewhere right around actually the top side of this blue box territory. Also our prior breakout levels from earlier this week, actually, at 58.8. If things, I'd want to see things in real time after that in order to reassess. But if the bounce were to fail there, I'd actually be looking at just below, I believe it was $58,000 if that were to happen. But I'd want to see it in real time first. I think we're probably getting too ahead of ourselves for right now. Anyways, we are 7 minutes into this video. Let's talk about something that was brought up a lot of times in the comment section, and that is Bitcoin dominance. So I want to kind of set the stage for this conversation here. Or should we save this for tomorrow? Maybe we save this for tomorrow. Yeah, you know what? Let's save this for tomorrow. We can look at some altcoins here. How about that? All right. What are the top altcoins right now? Who's doing well? All right, here we go. Let's go look at... everyone loves SHIB, don't they? Let's go look at Quant, huh? Quant is one that's been requested quite a few times, I do believe. We can bring it up over here. And let's see what we got. Okay, let's go to the daily. Yes, this one very obviously going through an accumulation range right now. And like many altcoins, while this is, generally a good setup here, especially as long as this thing's still above $260, that would be my invalidation point. It very likely is going to lag Bitcoin. So if you are thinking in terms of opportunity cost, which perhaps we'll go into in a future video, there's very likely going to be a better opportunity cost of being in Bitcoin versus most altcoins. And in this case, I would not get too excited about this thing as long as you're below, especially 345 in this case. Short term, do I think that it will trade up from here? Yeah, I do actually, especially over the weekend. This 4 hour is obviously a local low. I'm looking for a move somewhere just north of $300 in this case for the 4 hour time frame, probably over the next day to day and a half. Anyways, moving on, what's another good altcoin that we can go pick on for the day? Let me just scroll down my list here. I believe Matic was called up a lot of times as well. Yes, I just going to my notes over here. Yeah. Okay, so let's go over Matic. Again, a very, very good long-term setup here. This is very obviously reaccumulation. There is an invalidation on this, of course, and that would be below about 90 cents even on a weekly. However, this is in a reaccumulation formation and very likely does go to the upside from here. However, does it happen simultaneously with Bitcoin? That I'm not so certain of. And while it is actually testing the top side of this reaccumulation zone, I'd still like to see it close a daily above 185. And at that point, you will have a technical target to the upside based off of this as an ascending triangle, which are actually some of my more, if I am going to choose any formation, it would be the triangle variety and specifically the ascending and descending variety. Anything other than that, I'm not so hot on as well. But anyways, that would actually have a technical target back around 280. Do momentum oscillators agree? Yes. Bullish divergence come off the last low on the daily. Good. Daily volatility starting to tick up here significantly from major lows. Also good. And even my momentum oscillator right here is about to give a nice signal to the upside as well. So I suspect that this one could actually really get going over the next month or two, and very likely 2 new highs on this next run, as even the weekly has hit in bullish divergence and looks like it's about to confirm its next higher low. Things are looking good across the board for the most part. Keep in mind, as a general rule, when Bitcoin goes up, 90% of altcoins will go up as well in varying degrees of strength. When Bitcoin goes down, altcoins will follow as well. It's mostly a function of what Bitcoin does. Of course, there's going to be a handful. There's going to be a very small amount, but a handful of altcoins that do their own thing. Definitely will happen, but on the majority scale, 90% of altcoins are mostly going to follow Bitcoin. So Bitcoin going up here, I'm generally going to be bullish on most altcoins. It's just, we have to be thinking opportunity cost. Is there going to be a better opportunity of being in Bitcoin or an altcoin? And for that, we will go off of the Bitcoin dominance chart, which we'll speak about tomorrow. So I'll save that for tomorrow. I also have another really fun one to do as well, talking about some pretty crazy targets as well. Of course, this is all going to be supported with data. I really dislike the, I don't want to, be doing the hopium stuff. I don't want to be doing the, the typical stuff, right? But if we can support it with data, then I'm comfortable to talk about, some of these more crazy numbers. So with that said, I'm going to be signing off now. I hope this video has served you well. Take care, and until next time.